Yeah, I was a fan of NASA before, but this just cements it now. Incredible work. Love it. I'm a super fan. Yeah. So, given the current political environment that we're in, I've heard of budget cuts with NASA, NOAA, and folks on, to me, the pointy end of the spear on acquiring data. How has that impacted you?
To be honest, with us at NASA, and I can only speak for our agency, the president proposes, Congress disposes, as we always say. So the president's FY18 budget was released back last May, and it is still being debated in the halls of Congress as we speak. And we were very lucky that the budget that the Office of Management and Budget OMB at the White House proposed for us met all of our needs. It only called for a 1% decrease in NASA's FY18 budget and approximately 5% decrease in NASA's Earth Science budget. So we were able to fully execute the program that we had planned under those budget parameters. But keep in mind that budget has not been enacted. And there are different, you look at the House proposal versus the Senate proposal, and they're different than the President's proposal. Actually, they restore many of those cuts. In fact, almost all of them, both houses, I believe, especially the Senate. I know that for a fact. But they're still debating that. And so we are under a continuing resolution right now that is keeping us at 2017 budget levels. So we have not had, as of yet, any budget impact. We are continuing at 2017 levels and will until a new appropriation is passed by Congress. But as you have seen in the news, we're continuing resolution after continuing resolution keeps on going, which, we're fine at 2017 levels. That also works for us. So, so far, no, that we have not seen an impact so far.
Okay. I think we have a question from
online from WebEx. Question is, do the ozone measurements include tropospheric ozone as well as stratosphere?
It includes both, and it's actually, that gets to a tough nut to crack. It's total columnar ozone. So you're taking all the way from orbit to the ground and saying how much ozone in total is in this column of the atmosphere. That's very important for us to know when we're looking at the loss of ozone in the stratosphere that protects us from UV radiation over the Antarctic and the Arctic. But it doesn't necessarily, it's very hard to tease out that tropospheric element of where we're breathing ozone, where we don't want the ozone to occur, and try to separate those two. And it has been a long running, we're getting better at it. We have done a lot of airborne campaigns that, for example, we had an airborne campaign over the mid-Atlantic, and one place was the mid-Atlantic, but we did it all across the country a few years ago called Discover AQ, where they would actually have airborne sensors that would fly when the satellite was coming over. They would do spirals over a ground sensor when the satellite was coming over. So we had ground sensor, the airborne instrument, and then the satellite all together to try to correlate that. And they would do these spiral flight patterns down so we could see how much are we detecting in the stratosphere, how much are we detecting in the troposphere, developing algorithms to tease that information out of the satellite data. So it's an ongoing problem, it's an ongoing issue, but we are getting better at being able to tease out the tropospheric ozone, and TEMPO is going to help a lot with that from geostationary orbit.
And you said earlier that you can see NOx and VOCs.
Sure.
So those are your precursors. You can see those
exactly.
in the troposphere.
And so we use NOx as a proxy for ozone because of that issue. Because of course NOx and SOx and all that, it's going to be at the ground. We're detecting that, that's where we're breathing. It's the ozone, because there's such a high concentration in the stratosphere, it's more difficult.
It's an amazing program. I'm fascinated by the number of applications that you can do. Have you looked at all at plant diseases, things like deforestation, forest diseases?
We've looked at a lot of deforestation. So we had that entire ecological forecasting program that's led by Dr. Woody Turner, where they look at issues of clear-cut agriculture, deforestation, changes in land use, land cover, wildlife health is particularly, I know he has projects looking at marine mammal wildlife health and different things of that nature. As far as plant diseases, the only one, it's not a disease, but we have worked through the Health and Air Quality Applied Sciences team and its precursor team to look at the impact of ozone on agriculture, because it causes a decrease in agriculture productivity. So we've worked with, it was work led by St. Louis, Washington University in St. Louis was looking at that.
you had public health interns at NASA before?
Well, a fellow now. So Linda Chapman, what I mentioned earlier, she's our AAAS fellow for health and air quality applications. Her background is MD, MPH, and I'm probably missing and PhD. So Helena came on in September 2017, and she'll serve as a fellow in the program at headquarters working with me for the next 2 years. She was preceded by Shobna Gupta, who was also an MD, PhD, but she was an MPH. She was our AAAS Fellow for Health from 2015 to 2017. So that's been, in my offices, what the capability we've been able to tap through AAAS.
But could students that just don't have all those letters, but maybe an MPH?
Sure, of course. So we have, again, for AAAS is one way to enter NASA in a fellowship. Certainly the Develop program is our primary tool of bringing students in to work on projects. They're also for people who are in their postdoc. We have the NPP program, the NASA postdoc program, where people actually will propose work for NASA to fund for their postdoctoral work at universities. So those are our three primary student programs.
And then there's the Presidential Management Fellowship.
And sure, I'm sorry, yes, and of course how I entered the Presidential Management Fellowship program, yes.
The most successful one.
The most successful. Thank you. Forgot the one I
Okay, I think we're about out of time. Is there any last questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Alan.